Hey everybody, it's Patricia here from Mystic in the Matrix, and I would like to share with you today my very first ghost experience. So I was just a kid. We were living in that old house that I've talked about before that was out in the countryside, and it was, so the way that this house was, there was two parts to it. There was an old part of the house and there was a new part of the house, and in between was this kind of like this mud room, a larger mudroom that connected one door to one, and then there would be another door going into the other side. Well, my parents' bedroom was in the old part of the house, and my brother and I, our bedrooms were in the new part of the house. And in this particular moment, my brother's bedroom was being renovated, and we're little kids too. In case I didn't say that. Anytime I mentioned about the old farmhouse, we were little kids at that time. So like, I think we moved when I was around 10, 11. So between, 4.5 to then. So anyways, so there we were in this house, and my brother's bedroom was being renovated. So he was sharing a room with me, and we had bunk beds. He had the top bunk, I had the bottom bunk. And this one particular night, we had gone to bed, and as siblings do, we were giggling and talking into the night. And I could hear my mom yelling out, "Hey, you guys, get to sleep." And we're like, "Yeah, okay, we're gonna get to sleep." And we giggle some more, and then it was a pretty normal night. There was nothing really crazy about the night. But as we lied there, we kind of thought we heard something in the front part outside of our bedroom. So I guess I should describe. When you enter the new part from the mud room, it's like you walk into a living room that also has a kitchenette, and then there's one bedroom here and that bedroom, and then there's a bathroom. And there's also a door that goes to the side of the house, but that door is always locked. We never used it. My parents didn't want us using it. And for security reasons, we kept it closed, locked all the time. So we would have to go, so if my bedroom was here, we would have to go through the kitchenette, living room, and then into the door that goes into the mud room. And when you're in the mud room, there's a door that goes into the old house. You'd have to go all the way through to my parents' room. So there we are, far corner, they're on the other side of the house. And once again, we were talking and giggling about stuff, and then we heard our father's voice. And my father was a pretty stern guy, so we're like, okay, we gotta be quiet, right? We'll be quiet now. And so we were quieting down, and then we heard some more noise and some footsteps, and we thought, is that our father trying to like freak us out and scare us? Because the thing about my dad was, even though he was very a strict father, he was also a bit of a trickster. He liked to have his fun too, from time to time, and yeah, he liked to pull little things on us. So we were kind of like, oh, that's just dad, right? And so we could hear these, it wasn't like heavy footsteps, but it was like kind of light footsteps. We could hear the creaking. And to be clear, our bedroom door was closed as well. So it's not like we could see what was happening on the other side of the door. So that's why we weren't sure what we were hearing and didn't know if it was our parents just coming to check in on us or whatever. So we'd call out, "Hey, is that you, Dad? Is that you, Mom?" And it would stop. There'd be nothing. And so we were quiet again, and we're listening, and we hear the creaking, the footsteps coming closer to our door. And, "Dad, is that you? Mom, what are you doing?" And nothing. So at this point, my brother is saying to me, like, "Hey, they're going a little bit too far. This is making me uncomfortable." And I'm like down underneath him and looking, I'm going, "I'm scared." So I was pulling the blankets up around my face because, I didn't know what was going on. What was this? And so we're really quiet and we're listening, trying to hear what's happening on the other side of the door. And all of a sudden, not only are we hearing footsteps, we could hear breathing. But it wasn't breathing like somebody rasping or anything. It was just very like that, like a light breath. coming through. And so I could tell my brother was getting uncomfortable because he's starting to shift on the bed a little bit now. And he's like, can you hear that? Can you hear that? I'm like, yeah, I can hear that. And I'm getting really freaked out, hey? And then we're listening, and we could hear that it's coming to the door. And we're both kind of bracing for one of our parents to like open the door and go boo or something really funny and silly, right? But even though we know that they might be the ones coming through the door, we're still really freaked out. I got my blanket up across my face. And as we're sitting there, we're lying in our beds really, really quiet. All of a sudden, the breathing came through the door and into our bedroom. That moment, my brother was, what the hell? He jumps up, leaps from this bed, from the top bunk, flies open the door and goes running straight through the new part of the house and through that door. And I can hear him barreling into the old part of the house. Well, I got my blankets right up over my head at this point, and I start praying to God. And I'm like, God, please save me from whatever's in this room. And the next thing I know, I can hear everybody else come rushing to the bedroom, and they come in, and my dad looks everywhere. My mom's looking. They calm me down, and they can't, of course, find anything. So as parents do, oh, it's just got to be the creaking of the house. It's just got to be this. It's just got to be that. Well, to this day, I remember it very well, and I really don't think so. So a little bit of the history, though, was one thing I had years later asked my mom, I go, Mom, you remember that? And she goes, oh yeah, I remember that. Because a lot of things happened in that old house. And I had asked her, I go, did you know the history? Because as a small child, I'm not going to be asking my mom these questions. It was probably like I was more like 15 or something. I started asking these questions. And I said, do you remember like who owned the house before? And my mom says, I think it was an old woman, but she had died in the hospital, not in the house. And that kind of made sense to me because the wallpaper in that bedroom, it was pink with these little flowers all over it. It was a very pretty wallpaper, but it was very feminine. So I thought perhaps that could have been the conclusion of who the spirit was that was, going through this house and coming into that bedroom, because that might have, been her bedroom. But one of the other things too that it could possibly have been was, excuse me, my mother loved to garden. We had this huge garden in the back behind our house. And every year, get the rototiller out, and sometimes things would come up, like things arise from the ground, the earth doesn't hide things. Things come up out of the dirt. And we discovered that there had been a camp out there in the 1800s. Because we were finding like old guns and old coins and like just miscellaneous things like that. And it was one of our old neighbors, we had inquired about it. We're like, hey, like, why are we finding these kind of things out in our back garden? And that's when they had explained that back in the 1800s, there had been a military that had made camp there. And so these kind of things would have been from that time period. I don't know the history of it. Maybe I should, research more, but I've never been like a war buff or anything like that. But I just generally knew that they had been a camp there and that they had been soldiers. So who knows, maybe it wasn't the old woman. Maybe it was actually somebody who had passed away out in the back behind the house where our garden was and was coming through. Anyways, that was my very first ghost experience, and definitely it wasn't my last, that's for sure. But you know what? My next video, I'll tell you another one. All right, folks, hope you're having a great day, and thanks for coming in here, and you know the drill. Give me a bell ring, a thumbs up, and subscribe. I really appreciate it, and take care. We'll see you again soon.